We're going to release the Erector Spinae muscles, which are long, ropey bundles of muscles that emerge out of the lower back, run alongside the spine, and even a little bit wider out on the ribs, all the way up, and some even go all the way up to the base of the skull. So they're called Erector Spinae because they hold your spine erect or upright, and they lift you into a back bend. These muscles can get strained and achy, especially right in the middle of your back. If your posture tends to be slumped, they get pulled and tend to get strained right here. So we're going to use a pink ball, or you can use a tennis ball or another kind of ball against the wall. Then as you get more adept at rolling the erectors, you can use balls on the floor, which is another video to see. So I'm going to start down in the lower back and start working up along the spine. So I'm going to put the ball, here's the top rim of my pelvis, and I'm going to put the ball just above that, and I'm going to step to the wall. Again, whenever you're coming to the wall, the closer you stand to the wall, the less pressure, and the further you step from the wall, the more your body weight leans in and puts more pressure. So I'm going to put the ball right next to the spine, not on the spine, right next to the spine. I'm going to bend my knees and go up and down. Because we have a lot of area to cover, we'll just do sections a little bit at a time. So 3 or 4 inches at a time. And I keep the ball kind of near the spine. I can come out a little wider along what's called the arms of the spine, or the transverse processes of the spine. I'm just kind of working around that area. And the same as any place in the body, as you roll, you're unwinding the binding and the connective tissues. And then as you find some tender spots and the muscles start to kind of soften and the tissue starts to open, you'll start to feel those more tender places. That's a good time to pause, take a breath. Maybe a little wiggle side to side, or just a little bounce up and down, kind of massaging that area. And so just checking that whole low back area. I'm going to take the ball and move it up right to the lower ribs. So I put the ball right at the lower ribs. And here, the muscles become a little more prominent. So as I rock my body side to side, I can feel the definition of those ropes a little more clearly. And I find there can be a lot of tenderness right along the edge of the ropes, and especially at the lower ribs. There are many layers of muscle here. So I just kind of want to wiggle side to side a little bit, maybe a little up and down, and find a tender spot and pause and sink. I'm really mindful to not curl forward and hang my head unless I'm doing it as movement, as a way to release the muscle. That will add a little more pressure to the ball. So if it's already very tender, I don't recommend that. You're not going for the most sensation. You want to encourage the body to release and open, and not hammer really hard on the points. So then we're going to just keep moving the ball up a little bit along the spine. Start getting into the middle section of the back, right next to the spine. Same principles. I might move out a little wider to get to the bundles that reach out along the rib cage a little bit. I like to do my rocking side to side to free the edges of those bundles. You can really feel like a rope there. Then I kind of find a tender spot right in the middle of that rope. And I sink, breathe. Oh, it feels better, and then I'm going to move on. You won't always feel the point release. The trick is to just keep going back and trying again. A little bit every day is better than a long hold for one at one time. And just keep finding those bundles of the erectors along the spine. I'm bending my knees and straightening. And I find a spot and I sink and I breathe and relax. And then I move on. As I get higher up, I find it's easier to bring my bum to the wall, lean forward, and drop the ball over. And then I take my bum away from the wall and bend and straighten the legs to move the ball up and down. I'm still right next to the spine and not on the spine. You need to use a very soft ball if you're going to go over any bony areas. You want to really avoid using a hard ball or firm ball or a foam roller right on the spine itself. It can really cause some damage. So I get really close to the spine and I find I want to do a little wiggle here, massaging that area, and you can do that anywhere along these tissues. And as I feel that starting to open up a little bit, I'm going to pause and sink. And here I might want to round and then arch and round and arch. And I can do this anywhere along these lines of tissue, rounding and arching. And I can move all the way up even higher, just staying right next to the spine. And just the last little area that I'm going to do right next to the spine right here. Take a breath. Great. And then if I want to stretch those erectors now that I've rolled them out a little bit, it's nice to stretch and bring some movement into the back. Just doing anything like this. It's going to kind of arch the back and bring a little tension to the muscles and then round and tuck to open up those tissues. And then you'll go right to the other side and do that all again on the other side, starting low in the back, right next to the spine, up and down, and just break it up into sections. Do maybe 3 or 4 inches, and then come up onto the lower ribs, work that area, and methodically make your way all the way up to the top to release the erectors. The erector muscles tend to refer their pain downward. So the lower sections can actually refer into the buttocks, in the glutes, along the top rim of the pelvis, and higher up erector bundles can refer down lower in the back. So it's beneficial to roll all along and check and just see, be a little explorer, finding where the places, where your stuck places are in your muscles. So that's the Erector Spinae muscles.